Good evening, everyone. Our topic is technology and poverty alleviation in Africa. My name is Oyinda Mola Ido.
My name is Ranjit Badam.
My name is Ranjit Andupalli.
My name is Doug Nelson.
I'll start by defining poverty. When I think of poverty, I think of sick children, malnourished children, people who don't have access to clean water, people who live in slums, and children that are forced into armed groups because they can't go to school. So, poverty is a state of being extremely poor, lacking water, nutrition, health, education, clothing, and shelter. Extreme poverty is living on less than $125 a day. Moderate is between $2 and $5. And then poverty robs people of their dignity. The poorest of the poor around the world, they are the sickest. So we'll be narrowing it down to poverty in Africa. Majority of the world's poorest nations today are in Africa. In 1820, the average European worker earned 3 times the African worker. Today, the average European worker earns 20 times what the African worker earns. Although some nations like South Africa and Egypt, they are not as poor. Well, Africa has a lot of nations, and we picked the Democratic Republic of Congo because it is a nation that is so blessed and so poor. Congo was colonized by the Belgians till 1960. It has a population of about 70 million. It has suffered 2 civil wars, and that resulted in about 4 million deaths. It has 30% of the world's cobalt. Cobalt is the raw material that is used in making all the PCs and all the phones. It has 10% of all the copper in the world, gold, uranium, and oil. It has 40 to 50% of Africa's water reserve, and it has enough arable land to produce all the food that it needs and enough for export. Well, in contrast to all these natural resources, most of the Congolese, they are uneducated and poverty-stricken. Congo has the world's highest rate of malnutrition. Women and children suffer the most. The women and the children are the farmers and the fishers, and the men just sit home and eat whatever they bring. Only 10% of people in the rural area have access to clean water. Only 11 rather. And only half of the Congolese population have access to safe drinking water. Malaria is endemic. 1 in every 5 children in Congo dies before the age of 5. And Congo is last place in the United Nations Annual Human Development Index. It means it is the country where the population grows the least in the world. That's because, yes, people get born there every day, but they die more. And Congo is also rated the poorest and one of the most dangerous places in the world. For now, you don't want to go there. And the consequences of poverty in Congo, one of it is displacement. Due to the war and all, people they scatter around, they lose family members. They are not dead, but once you don't know where they are. Child recruitment into armed groups. Most of these children, they become soldiers at the age of 9. Violence against women and girls, it's the order of the day, especially sexual abuse. Since they are poor and they are barely trying to survive, they have higher level of diseases. They have a very low level of vaccination, and brain drain is one of the major problems that they have. The little ones that get education, they leave the country. They just don't want to be there. They want to look for a peaceful place to live. So, Nelson will be telling us about some of the statistics he found.
Well, we found the infant mortality rate to be 83 to 1,000 in the DRC compared to 6.3 deaths in the U.S. Life expectancy is about 24 years less than what our life expectancy is. And you guys can read the HIV and illiteracy is 67%. And that just means they can read, and actually they read 3 languages, but they only do it at a 67% level. Human trafficking is a really huge issue. 700,000 to 4 million women, children are trafficked annually worldwide. This isn't including boys and men. That's just over half the population of the DRC in a 10-year time frame. If 12-year time frame, that's 1/3 of the United States, to put it in a perspective. 50,000 women and children are trafficked into the U.S. alone, and dispersed among Asian nations, the Middle East, and Western Europe. And a lot of the people worldwide come from Eastern Europe, especially since the free trade agreement got approved, and that's illegal activity. 2/3 of the 500,000 women are trafficked annually for prostitution. The Congo, DRC, is considered a Tier 3 level crisis. You got 1, which is everybody's involved in changing it. 2 is, oh, they care a little bit, and 3 is we don't have time for it. They don't even care. So it's rated Tier 1 is rated the best, and Tier 3 is the worst. So, and Tier 3 is where the Congo is where there's no UN mandated rules or regulations being followed. The world hunger situation and malnutrition. The total is about 840 million out of 7 billion people go to bed hungry at night. Under 5 years old, there's 153 million of those that are under 5. 40,000 children under the age of 5 die every day from hunger and preventable diseases. 45,000 people in the DRC and Congo die every month from hunger or malnutrition. The loss of human life from hunger is greater than if an atomic bomb were to be dropped on a densely populated area every 3 days. So 1 in every 5 people in the world is hungry today. And we already went over to 45,000 people. So. Then we got some of the causes. Some of it is protectionism or the ownership of land. The land has been ravaged by various things such as war and lack of water and things like that. The DRC, as far as malnutrition or hunger, is last on the list out of the 181 nations. And matter of fact, those 4 on the end are the worst. 38 out of 100 die from malnutrition or hunger. And they're all in sub-Saharan Africa. Everything else, of the countries we compared them against, there is no comparison. They're essentially null compared to the DRC. There's Congo exploitation. Ironically, one of the primary raw materials for cell phones comes from DRC, like my co-student talked about. That gives but yet there's only 4 telephones or telecommunication systems per 1,000 people in the DRC that have access to those information systems. This begets the illiteracy rate, which is right now sitting at 38% in the Congo. Yet this is where we get all the materials to make information systems and so forth. There are many causes. Human trafficking and armed conflict, no formalized government, indentured servitude, and prostitution are among the tops. Lack of life-sustaining services, no formalized education system. Most people age 15 and over can read or write, and of the 100%, that's 67%. 80% are male, 54% are female. So there's a huge discrepancy there. And I hand it over to my other student here.
Yeah, bad governance is one of the main reasons for the poverty, and bad governance is caused by injustice, corruption, ineffective laws, and embezzlement of public funds. Injustice. Congo has enough natural resources and minerals which they can make lot of money with that, but it failed to do that. And many private people are transporting the minerals and natural resources to another countries, and government is failed to punish them. And corruption is making the rich people richer, and the middle class and lower class people are suffering due to corruption. Ineffective laws, the people are doing crime and they are put in jail, but they are not punished properly, and they are repeating their crimes again and again because of ineffective laws. And embezzlement of public funds, the government is sanctioning the required amount to the public, but they are unable to utilize for the public. Increased crime rate. Poverty is one of the main reason for behind the crimes, and poverty may lead to higher probability of youth spending time on the street associating with gangs. The people want to become rich overnight, and they are joining the gangs. Youngsters are joining the gangs and spending more time on the streets rather than of going to school and jobs. And this crime also offering material goods to attain their material goods rather than getting them in a legitimate way. And environment consequences, these are caused due to land degradation, deforestation, loss of biodiversity, pollutions, conflicts and naturals. And child mortality rate under 5 years old, the people who are less than 5 years old are dying due to diseases like malaria, diarrhea, measles, HIV, AIDS. And this is the statistics showing from 1976 to Jan 2008, and it has decreased by a little bit, but still it has a 170 death per 1,000 people. And this shows the polio. These are the people who are suffering from polio. Like in 2010, they caused like 300 cases of paralysis and 179 has been death. Every two out of 3 people are literate, and the 67% of the total population are doing their primary education but unable to do their higher education, and only just 5 of 100% are using internet. Children are forced to join rebel groups during the age of 9, and till 2008 due to civil wars the death rate has gone up to 5.4 millions, and mostly from diseases and starvation. Continue.
Now I just want to tell how the technology will use to overcome the poverty. There is the basic technology which can be used to overcome these poverties. See, technology and water. See, the water, they have lots of water in Congo, but the water is not purified. The simple way to get purified is the boiling of water. It's a simple technology. Any water of above 100 degrees centigrade is the purest water, so it can be used for drinking. And use of chlorine in water is one of the way to purify the water. And rainwater harvesting. The rainwater can be harvested for use, so that it can be used later. And there is sustainable water filtration. As shown in the figure, there will be a net in which the impurities will be left, and the water can be purified, and which reaches the ground level, so that the water can be purified. And digging of wells and hand pumps are the some basic technologies which the water problems from which the water problems can be solved. There are some higher technologies like dams and etc. But as the country suffers with a lot of poverty, there is no need for the government to invest more on these things. And next, how it helps in the farming. So sub fertilizers and subsidized seedings are one of the basic things what the farmers need for the farming, and their mechanized farming. As we know, the vehicles like tractors and all, they cost more, so they can use cows for the basic farming, and the waste from the cows can be used as fertilizers as well, so they can be used in many ways. And the irrigation things, the farms can be split into the, as shown in the figure, it can be split, and if the farms are beside the lakes, the lake water can be passed to the split areas so that the water can spread across the farm. So it is one of the way to irrigate. And technology and education, how technology helps. Free education or subsidized books should be provided to the children, and building of more schools, provide means of transportation, and teaching aids like computers can be or should be used for the children to educate, and address ethical issues of child labor. Children, many children of the above age are 9, above the age of age group 9 are forced to enter the civil groups or local rebel groups. So, on and teaching the ethical issues, so they can. And the major causes for child mortality in Congo are malaria, diarrhea, measles, malnutrition, and polio. And how this technology helps in these diseases. Providing of basic equipment like medicines and emergency care kits, and cheap anti-malaria medication, and treated mosquito nets can be used. And Google Earth technology. This is technology using the Google. They implemented this in Congo using the Google Earth technology. They mapped the geographical area of the Congo, and they found the area which was affected with the diseases, and they found that the areas surrounding the Congo river were affected more with these diseases, and so that it is easy for them to identify what are the causes for the spreading of these diseases. And awareness programs using media to educate and prevention measures for diseases like diarrhea, HIV screening, awareness and preventive programs should be used, and vaccination against diseases like polio can be used. And technology and electricity. Electricity is the major problem in Congo, in which many people are not getting a chance for education as well. So solar energy is the cheapest and renewable source of energy. So it can be used for Congo people for generation of electricity. Thank you.
Any conclusions you didn't say or you want to say now before questions?
We actually have conclusions.
You have conclusions? Yes. Why don't you say that? Yes, just give us a conclusion. Yes.
So we are saying that Congo is a very poor nation, and the most advanced technologies they won't be able to afford. So that was why we proposed the simple ones that some of which they can design themselves. And also women liberation and the right of a woman in Congo will be their right not to be abused and forced to labor, as opposed to here where it is what you do with your body and how you use it. So if they have a right not to be abused, it's a better life for them. And then with basic access to clean water, nutrition, health, education, and shelter, there will be lower level of displacement, and more people will stay in Congo than running out.
Any other conclusions?
Yeah, all of us. My conclusions are enforce UN mandated human trafficking, tier 1 level, worldwide, especially start with the worst nations first and work our way up. Hunger can be resolved by farming technology. genetic engineering, privatization of land via good governance, and then formalized education to solve illiteracy. And I want to add one more thing, geothermal energy. Here we go.
Technology can only make wars worse, and that's it.
And the presence of clean water, productive and mechanized farming, good education, electricity, and employment can be reduced because the people, there lot of industries and foreign investors will be attracted to Congo, and there the problems of solving unemployment, and there is a problem of solving human trafficking as well.
Give them a hand, please. Now, question for all of you. You did this research. In the heart of hearts, you're deep down in your heart. Do you think that technology and humans using technology can really change this problem, solve this problem?
Yes.
Honest to God.
I think it is more of an internal thing. Most of the problem in Congo, it was as a result of the civil war that they had. But then the way of life is degrading, and what we are proposing is a simpler way for the masses to survive. There are rich people in Congo who don't know all these things are even going on. But how do the little people whose voices cannot be heard, how do they survive? So that's it.
Any other answers?
I believe it can. I think it's going to take a stabilized governmental policy.
Stabilized or clean?
And clean, yeah. Corrupt-free. That's it. Thanks.
Any questions? Any questions? Yes, please.
Every one of the diseases that was mentioned up there is a waterborne disease, or
Mhm.
it can be carried by water most of the time. And secondly, I'll say it again, every one of the diseases that we looked at there, diarrhea, malaria, etc., are all diseases that are in one way or another associated with water. You also state that the major problem associated with these diseases is that they're centered around the Congo River itself. So the river traverses most of the Congo, does it not? And it's carrying the majority of those diseases. So if you're looking at water solutions, you can't just look at them in a small geographic area, because that river is going to carry those diseases throughout. So, you know, when you combine questions of, what do you call it, an unstable government structure, children being put together into gangs associated with intertribal warfare, that's correct, right? Hatreds that go back way before they were ever colonized, right, intertribally. And you start taking a look at the situation of the death rate, where would you guys begin whatsoever to start some kind of fixing associated with it?
I think the major problem associated with the deaths, especially children deaths, is water. The Congo River, like he talked about the Google Earth technology. With that technology, they found out that most people staying close to the Congo River, they die more. They have more of these diseases. So if the poor people who live close to this river, they can't afford to build good houses and prevent mosquitoes from coming in, they can have insecticide-treated nets.
Why don't they move away from the river? What's keeping them close to the river?
The only thing that's keeping them close to the river is still water. But then they stay close to that water, they bathe in it, they cook from it, they even throw their waste back into it.
So it's their life.
Yes.
Any other questions, comments?
It'll probably take an international effort on that one.
Okay, let's take a group further and then give you a clap of your hands and then move next, please. Do we have what? 1, 2, 3.
$125 a day. Moderate is between $2 and $5. And then poverty robs people of their dignity. The poorest of the poor around the world, they are the sickest. So we'll be narrowing it down to poverty in Africa. Majority of the world's poorest nations today are in Africa. In 1820, the average European worker earned 3 times the African worker. Today, the average European worker earns about 4 million debts. It has 30% of the world's cobalt. Cobalt is the raw material that is used in making all the PCs and all the phones. It has 10% of all the copper in the world, gold, uranium, and oil. It has 40 to 50% of Africa's water reserve. And it has enough arable land to produce all the food that it needs and enough for export. Well, in contrast to all these natural by defining poverty. When I think of poverty, I think of sick children, malnourished children, people who don't have access to clean water, people who live in slums, and children that are forced into armed groups because they can't go to school. So, poverty is a state of being extremely poor, lacking water, nutrition, health, education, clothing, and shelter. Extreme poverty is living on less than Good evening, everyone. Our topic is technology and poverty alleviation in Africa. My name is Oyinda Mola Idowu.
My name is Ranjit Badam.
My name is Ranjit Andapalli.
My name is Doug Nelson.
I'll start 20 times what the African worker earns. Although some nations like South Africa and Egypt, they are not as poor. Well, Africa has a lot of nations, and we picked the Democratic Republic of Congo because it is a nation that is so blessed and so poor. Congo was colonized by the Belgians till 1960. It has a population of about 70 million. It has suffered 2 civil wars, and that resulted in